everybody. Good day. I'm excited about today's topic because I think there is something to this that we don't always have the opportunity to explore. So I get to let you in a little bit on Anthony and how I flow. So let's get into this today. So first thing I want to talk about is there are moments in time when everything seems to be hitting us difficult and we get what I call as this kind of spun up feeling. Like that feeling of like anxiety and anxiousness and pressure, and there's a lot to get done, not enough time to get it done, and I feel like I'm all crazy. There is no calm. They say zero chill is what my son says. You got zero chill today, bro. I got chill, Dad. Today's the day I got some things done. So there's this idea of like zero chill, and I think that there are people that I sometimes hang out with that I'll say this, and it's funny. Me and BRENDON actually we had mentioned at a conversation about this in Wyoming of all places years ago, and I was driving and I said something along the lines of, "It's hard to be around people who aren't settled inside." Repeat this. It is hard to be around human beings who are not settled because there's no peace. Like I can sit there and they're always chatting and they're talking and they're moving and there's a vibration I feel. I'm like, man, you're unsettling me. And the thing is, we typically don't even notice that it's happening. We just feel anxious around that person. We say, I don't like that person. No, you may not like that they're kind of unsettled. They might be a great human, but they're a little bit unsettled. And what happens is, here's a unique thing. They are unaware that they're unsettled inside too. They're just talking and chatting and doing that. And it's like, oh, weird energy, right? Sometimes I'll tell you, this is us. And I think when we don't realize that, we wonder, why is it hard to build the business, to make the sales, to fix the relationship, to be a present father, to be a good son or be a good brother or sister? It's difficult because it's like we are creating this vibration of energy around us that is not the most positive, simply because we aren't settled inside. We aren't calm. We don't do things with a calm, I call it calm power, which I'll talk about in a moment. And then what ends up happening is we can't be productive because we're never online, we're never on track. And if we fall off, we stay off, and it just kind of sucks, right? So how do we get to this point of having this space of being calm and striving and productive? And I'm gonna cover all those things today. So I want to take you back to the years whenever I was in a space of playing for the Washington Redskins, now the Washington football team. Back in the day when I was a young man with less gray hairs and my knees didn't pop when I stood up for some sitting too long, because those things, they pop, man. Those knees, they start hurting after a while. So what I found was I met this guy named Eddie. And Eddie did a lot of training. Like he was a guy who trained a lot of athletes. He had played linebacker for the Redskins before me. And we got to talking and conversating, and he really liked me. He goes, man, I really like you. I go, what is it that you like? Because I'd worked out. I'd only one time worked out with him. And he goes, there's a sense of like this power you carry about yourself. And he says, it's like a calm power. I was like, expand upon this, because I don't know what you're talking about, a calm power. He's like, there's a sense of like, you know who you are. You like what you do because it's apparent, and it's like you do it without needing people to give you praise or lift you up all the time. Like you do it, and it's powerful. He's like, it draws human beings in. I think about when you walk into a room and you see someone who carries themselves that calm power. We're drawn to them. There's a sense of like, I want to be in their conversation. I want to hover around their little corner. I want to be in their vicinity because what they give off, I like, right? And there's a sense of calm power. And I was like, well, have you noticed it anybody else? He's like, yeah, I've seen some people. I said, well, what do you think it is? What's the unique maybe parts of it? He says, well, when I see you show up in the actions you take, you don't take them in a sense of taking them and then turn around going, was it good enough? Was it good enough? Was it good enough? He's like, you take it, but you're powerful in knowing that you took it, and it's good because you did it, right? He says also, and this is mostly in the weight room and getting to know him a little bit later. He says also, whenever I see you show up, he said, you come in joy. It's hard to be in joy if you aren't calm and centered inside. Like it's hard to be in a space of, and if it's joy, it's like an anxious joy. Like, yeah, I'm happy. I'm excited. You know, it's like, it's not that like, yeah, I'm happy. I'm joyful. How you doing today? Like, you want to go get a meal? Want to get some, like, it's a different sense of joy. So my goal has always been like, how do I carry and hold the calm power? How do I continue to put that into the world? Like, how do and I show up like this. I find that there's a lot of people that come around me, and my purpose when I live my life is I want you to leave my vicinity better. If you ever see me on stage when I go speak, I want my time spent with you to land in your heart and for you to walk away better with the time we spent. If you come to my home, if you're with me, I want there to be a conversation, a flow where you feel like you left and like you're better. And the only way I can give you some is if I have something to give. And if I don't work on giving it to myself, I can't give it to you. And if you don't work on giving it to yourself, you can't give it to anybody else. So how do we create this calm? We're going to talk about this. And I think that there's some things we'll talk about that may kind of maybe unsettle some people. I might poke some areas. I might tweak a little strings. I'm going to be honest. That's kind of the purpose of today, right? Is to get you guys to see something you haven't seen so you can work on something you haven't worked on. So as we move forward, here's the thing. I want us to talk about what I call is the multitasking monkey mind. That's why I think we don't get calm. It's the multitasking monkey mind of all the things I got to get done and they got to get done right now. And if I don't get it done right now, someone's gonna be mad. Oh, and it goes crazy. And we spin up and spin up. I met with this one guy and I had this moment where after football, I went, did my thing, came back home and I was building this business. And it was a gym business back in the day. And I wanted to build this business. I wanted to be amazing. And I was everything all in on this business. And I got to this point where I wouldn't say I'm proud of this, but I would be with my kids and I would want to be with my kids. Let me repeat this. I would want to be with my kids. And I'm not proud of this because I was with them. I'd play games, but my brain was somewhere else. My multitasking monkey mind was hopping from branch to branch on with the book and then the course and the program and then write this and read this. And you can do this. And you should go with this person and have this networking with this podcast, build the podcast. Maybe I should make this little image and take this picture. Oh, everywhere. And so when I'm with my kids, I'm not with my kids. And my college coach, I love this. It was big because we were student athletes, college athletes. We're thinking about stuff back in the day. I'm like, I want to get these new shoes and my girl and the game. And he's like, hey, be where you are when you are. And that was really hard for me. And I always have come back to that. But I was with my kids. I wasn't there with them. And I started realizing that I just had this anxiousness to get it all done. And I kept telling people, I just need one more month. I just need 2 more weeks. I just need 1 more year, right? Ever said it before? I'm going to get a hand up if you had it before to somebody else. I just need 1 more month, love. I need 1 more week, love. Give me 1 more year. I got this, right? And what happens is that month, that year, that week goes by and we're not aware of it, but we didn't get that thing done. But guess what? They are 100% aware. They'll let you know, like you said, a month. 2 months ago, why isn't it? What are you doing right now? And what I found was someone gave me this amazing advice. And what they said is, if I was to lock you in a room for 30 days, you would come out of that room. And then just first off, you wouldn't have to sleep. You don't got to eat. You could work 24/7, 30 days. He says you would come out of that room with more to do. Because that multitasking monkey mind, when it gets one thing done, what does it do? Finds a new branch. And more branches, more branches, more branches. So he's like, at the end of the day, you don't need to get to the point of doing all these things. He said you need to figure out what doesn't need to be done. What doesn't need to be done right now? Because you can't be calm inside and have that power if there's always something to do. Football was easy. I had to work out today, go to practice today, read my playbook. I'm good. When I got to this world, I'm like, I got all these things I could do. I want to do all of them right now. And it was all over the place. And the idea is I lost my calm power, because I didn't think about what doesn't need to get done right now. It needs to get off the plate, we'll call it. Have I ever given you guys the dogs in a pen about ideas, like the dogs that are in a pen concept? Yay, nay? No? Oh, this is a good one. So I got 2 dogs. They're back there in the house barking right now. And I love dogs. And what I came to find is my ideas, I love my ideas like I love my dogs. They're so amazing and they're cool and they're great. Look at all these cool ideas, right? And they go into my head. And what happens is I realize that sometimes it's like all the ideas, if they're, these dogs, and they're in a pen, a small pen, when they're sleeping, they can fit. Because they're just cool ideas. They're sleeping, no big deal. The dogs are sleeping, no big deal. But what if one dog woke up? What if maybe 2 of 10 dogs woke up? Well, these 2 dogs got nowhere to run, nowhere to play. The other dogs are laying around. And next thing you know, all the dogs wake up. And then what you got? A bunch of crazy dogs jumping around like crazy monkey. All these crazy ideas. And what I found was we have way too many things that are in the back of our head that are all fighting for the space in that pen. And we never take this next step, which is really difficult, is imagine you have these 10 dogs. You love the dogs. Love the dogs. In order for some of these dogs to fit in this pen, some dogs need to be put to sleep. You feel that? Oof. Little head. Yeah, right? That's a thought I have, I'm telling you, it's the same with some of your ideas. Not that your dreams can't prosper and grow, but some ideas don't fit. When I was in college, I had this big idea. It's like, I want to do car stereos when I get out. Because I love car stereos back in the day, because I wanted to be that annoying kid with the bass that would rattle your windshield next door. And I did. I'm dead serious. Listen to this. When I had my graduation party, I was so good with money back then. I got like $1,200 for graduation to go to college. I went to San Jose to the outdoor flea market and I spent $800 on car stereo equipment. My mom was pissed. Like, she's like, I returned all of it. She was livid, but I wanted that, right? I had these ideas. Say that to say, when I was in college, had the same itch. And I was like, you know what? I want to go home. And when I get done with football, I'm going to open a business called Trucks' Trunks. Let that settle in a little bit. Trucks' Trunks. So you put the subwoofers in the back of the trunk and with bubble bass, right? So like, here is an idea that doesn't belong in my head, to be quite honest. It's a cool idea, but like, I'm not going to do it. That idea needed to be put to sleep. And so I say that to say some of the ideas you have, you are not calm right now inside because this idea keeps bumping up against the other dogs and it doesn't have room to run around. And it honestly shouldn't be in the pen in the first place. So the thought should be, how do I get this idea out of my head and press it off into the future? Today, we're talking about friendships, and it was cool to be able to be around my friends, man. I have pockets of friends. You guys probably know what that means. Like, I have my professional business, current friends, we'll call it. Then I have like the friends that I've known for 27 years. I have my friend that's my wife. I have all these different amazing friends, right? But there are ways these all navigate and merge together. And so today I want to talk about those, because here is my true belief. I believe that the best and worst part of this world are people, man. It may be debatable, but I feel like the things that I love, people I love the most, like as people, right? And the things that I dislike come from people, unfortunately, or things people do to us. But I don't know if we ever navigate this properly, or we have any idea of the best way to look at what goes on. Because here's what I do know. When I am operating consistently in interaction with my best friends, the people around me, life is enjoyable to levels I cannot explain. Like, it was really, the last few days was so amazing to get to sit in a room with people that just get you and they talk to you in certain ways, and they tell you what you need to hear sometimes, not what you want to hear. We'll talk about that in a minute, but you get to expand and kind of create. And then also, if you want to go to a higher level in your life, you need people around you. You can't do it by yourself. Like, we all think we're self-made and solo. I don't know a single person that has done something without any other human being involved in some capacity. So I want to anchor that as we get into this today, is like, friendships, the reason this whole topic is chosen today is I think it's incredibly paramount to us finding some levels of success in life. So let's rock and roll with this today. First thing, I think one of the most important things when it comes to friendships, there's actually studies based around this, is that it's connection and time while connected. There are actually studies that show that the longer you spend of time with somebody, the closer you get bonded to them. And I think that there's this perception of, if you're just around them, it's just, all of a sudden, if I put a clock on at 60 hours, you're my best friend now. Like, that would be weird. Like, you can't put a clock on something like that. But do keep in mind, you need to be in proximity to certain people for a period of time. So if you're wondering, why don't I have great friendships? Well, ask yourself, are you investing in actually setting up time to hang out with people? People who are introverts, I found, like, they don't like to go out and be around a lot of people and wonder, why don't I have friends? Well, because you want to only be around you. Like, if you want to have great friendships, go and be around people. And what this may look like is some discomfort of setting a lunch date or a dinner date. Maybe you don't go, in a whole group, it's just you and that person, or you go hang out and do something you guys are both interested in, right? Common interest is a big thing with friendships, but you actually have to get to the point of spending time with people. It's a big, big piece there. So if you have an area on the top of your paper right now, say, I got to spend more time with people I want to be friends with. And it might be awkward at first. Maybe it's the soccer mom that you guys bring your kids to and from all the time. You have great conversations while you're at practice or games, but outside of games, you never talk. Well, be the weird person that says, hey, Susan, do you want to go for a coffee in the morning? Sure, let's go. After we drop the kids off, right? Create the moments that create time to create good, deep, bonded friendships. And I promise you'd be surprised. A lot of people probably need that just as much as you do. So it's not that weird. They're like, oh, I'm so thankful you took me out to tea, because I really been wanting to have a crumpet with you. Tea and crumpets. I don't know anything about them, but I feel like I throw it in there. Anyways, I'm a tea guy. I don't drink coffee, by the way. Now, the next part of this is, when you're with these people, what do you do? Now, a lot of people think if you just hang out, they're going to be friends, everything's great. But I have found that there are individuals who I have been able to spend a little bit less time with, but been very, very deeply connected to them. I used to go to this event years ago, and it would like happen like later in the nighttime, where we would all like to have like kind of a cool little closed down party. And they'd have these very specific areas set aside on the beaches or these cool areas where you could just talk. They facilitated discussion. Now, obviously, time's a big proponent, but what you do in that time matters. And here's what I was able to do. So I'll say, collapse the time to create great friends. There are people that I had known for 3 days that were closer to me than people I'd known for 3 years. And here's why. When I sat with these people, I opened my heart and shared things that literally I'd never shared with anybody before. And what happens at a special moment is it's catharsis. It comes out of me. Like I feel a levity, right? And when you have other human beings that accept and embrace that, don't make fun of you, don't shut things down, they go, oh, I see you. I feel you. And on top of that, they now feel permission to share with you. And you get to that vulnerable, open, really raw spot. That's where connection takes place. Now, when I say we get to do that, like, I'm not just saying you kind of have to do it. You have to do it if you want to bond a relationship. Think about the closest relationship you have. Maybe you're intimate, your wife or your husband, whatever it may be, or your partner in some capacity. Why are they so close to you? They just know a lot about you. They almost know everything. They know when you fart in the bed and they're like, oh, it sinks. They know what, like if your sink's dirty because you don't take the thing and brush your teeth in the little area. They know if like you leave the toilet seat up. They know things about you, right? They're intimately close to you. And so what happens is you have a different space. And so what you have to start thinking about is the reality of when you're creating those deep bonded connections, you have to be able to open up a little bit more you typically would, because if you don't open up, people don't get to know the heart of who you are. And when they get to know the heart of who you are, you start finding there's more of a connection there than people you've known for a lot of years. So if you can find that space to create those areas by actually opening up and sharing more than most human beings would, you find that you get to learn more about their heart. They learn about you and you feel that acceptance. Because friendships have got to be based on an acceptance space. Like the friends that I have, we have real conversations. We open up and talk. I've got friends that I've known since I was in second grade, like a core group of my friends from Jason, Nick, Kevin, Jeff kind of floats around in the circle there, but like second, third grade, we've been friends and we know a lot. We've gone through all the journeys of the ups and the downs. I've supported them through different levels of relationships, different levels of friendships, parenting and kids. We've just been there. So if you think about the time you have to spend with somebody's got to be there, but what you do in that time, in fact, heavily matters. So you got to focus on choosing to spend time and allocating it, but opening up while in that moment with them. Because if you don't do that, you pull punches, you don't share certain things. Well, what ends up happening is you have this disconnected kind of relationship where you're there, but you can't open up. If you can't open up, you don't feel connected. And then the distance gets created. So when you're around someone, you're like, I should be close to this person. I should be around, but I feel bogged down. I feel like I can't really express myself because when I do, they don't accept this, or they don't, or there's an anger that comes back, or like there's an argument that takes place. It's like, no, if you can open up and flow, it gets to be much better. Now, the next piece of this is when you have the right friends in your life, the right friends will tell you, I alluded to it a moment ago, they'll tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. Because if you're honest with yourself, there are a lot of things that you might know are kind of like the depths of going on. But when somebody tells it to you, one of two things takes place. Either one, your ego rears up. You don't like to hear this. So what you do is you get into this argument to defend your ego, to defend your current identity, because you don't want anybody to see you sweat, right? And if you have friends that hear, like when they say something to you and you take it in an abrasive manner, well, what happens is they stop telling you things. They stop sharing things with you. They stop opening up, and now you feel that separation create a space, right? But the reality is you need to be in a place where you can actually hear the things that need to be told to you, not just what you want to hear at times. And it is hard. Some people, like they have this desire to do it, and when somebody tells it to them, like they'll embrace it, and some will take some time to embrace it, but they'll eventually go, you know what? I was wrong. You're right. I get this. And they'll bring it in. And then some people will never do it. Some people will just continue to keep beating their head against the wall, and people look at them and go, man, I keep saying this person just won't listen. And then after a while, you start to feel that person stop telling you things, stop sharing certain things, stop opening up in certain ways. And it creates this space that doesn't need to be there, but it's there because you didn't want to hear what needed to be heard. And so you have to find people in your life that are not the ones that are like just only celebrating and rah, rah, sis, boom, bop. They're actually telling like, hey, I see this. So you might want to work on, and in that space, consider working on it and not have the ego rear up and go, well, the only reason I'm doing it is because you're telling me to. Well, maybe they're telling you and you should do it, even if they're telling you to too, if that makes sense. So think about this. And these are some, if you think about it, these are kind of some interesting things that I'm talking about friendship wise. Most people would think like, oh, on a friendship conversation for Growth Day, we should be talking about all the chummy stuff. Well, this creates the chummy moments. This creates those non-elephant in the room moments when you're able to talk about these very specific things. And then here's the other piece that has to take place when it comes to a friendship. The friendships that I have, no one keeps score. The best friendships I have, no one's keeping score on who did what and how we did this and how it took place. It's never a scorekeeping situation. In fact, the reality is if I want to get something from this individual, from this human, I got to give. And you got to give without expecting a return. You got to do certain things that show up in a certain way where you're not expecting some return that has to be there. So what it ends up being is I'm giving openly, I'm sharing openly, I'm doing certain things this person needs, this person I care about, this person I love. I'm doing the things without keeping score, without telling them all the things I'm doing. I just do them. And what happens is you find that in that pattern, that process, people eventually get to the role of starting to give you back what you need. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're going to talk about the workers today and who closes the year strong. So as you guys have met, I know I'm a former NFL athlete. And so for me, I've played a lot of different seasons. I've done a lot of different stuff. I'm obviously any sports fans, hands I can see anybody sports fans in here. Isn't it cool like if you have a team and they've been playing like they started so, they had a slump mid-year, and then all of a sudden at the end of the year, they pick it up. And next thing you know, they go off and win like championships. Anybody seen that happen before? Like it's cool and like the whole ride is experience is like a whole great feeling. And I just, like there's something special about that. And I realized that is what a lot of us miss for our lives. We miss that the back of the year, like the year started strong, let's go, hey. And all of a sudden we get going and we kind of get into that flow. We have some wins, we have some losses, but at the end of the year, we kind of just like, let's wait for the beginning of next season, next year, right? What if your team did that? If your team went, say, hey, at the end of the year, let's just wait for next season, you would hate that team. Like, I'm not with those guys, right? So we shouldn't do it for our lives. We should focus on how do we create a new momentum leading into next year to build up. Because here's what I do know. We are primed more than ever now to have such great opportunities in this world. Because if you guys have noticed the world, like it's kind of a little bit on shaky ground. And we feel unsettled sometimes. And so if we can lead in and go, hey, I'm ready to take over, it's a matter of you coming and being the stability you seek in this world. That's the thing. Can you create and be the stability you seek? So next year going forward, you have control. You're not like a leaf in the wind like we've sometimes felt in this world. So I'm going to today walk you through what for the last few years I've actually done. And I sat back and I was like, what do I do? Because I have a weird little process I've never actually titled or named, but I just do every year because I actually look at the end of the year and go, hey, my body naturally goes, it's October, it's November, it's December. Let me go ahead and drink some more. Let me have a little more food. Let me just hang out. I'm going to bundle up because it gets cold. And the next thing I know, it's like, oh, it's January and I'm more fat than I probably should be. Actually, last year, this time I started gaining weight. So by the end, December 31st of last year, I was 250 pounds. And I typically sit at 220. Like on 3 months, added 10 pounds per month. Like I wanted to set a record for some reason. So I know what this is like when I just let things go. And last year, I'm like, never again, Anthony. So I'm going to tell you what I've been doing and what I stopped doing, and also what I will do for the rest of my life ongoing. I'm not going to lie, though. It's kind of cool to sit around and not work out and drink bottles of wine. It's just, isn't it sometimes like you need that? You need that a little bit. I got some head nods. So let's go into this. So I've titled this the R7 system. Let's hop into this. The first R is what I call review. And here's what I mean by review, a very hard look. Now, the hard look is not always easy to take. And to be quite honest, it's sometimes a little bit scary because I want you to take a look at your life, which you've been doing this entire year. And I want you to take a very hard look and go, hey, what have I been doing that hasn't been serving the vision, the dream, the mission of where I'm supposed to go? Because you set this intention at the beginning of the year. You said, I'm going to go here. It's going to be my life. I'm going to create this thing. And then somewhere along the line, if you're doing great, phenomenal. Take a look at what you can improve upon. But if you're not where you wanted to be, what did I do that wasn't great? Where did I slow down? And honestly, if you have a planner, go take a look at your planner and see where you wrote things in that didn't get accomplished, or where you wrote things and if you go back and look, you go, yeah, that was a waste of my time. Because if we don't review, it's that whole process of if you don't look at history, you're doomed to repeat it. So every time I complete one of my planners, I actually go back and I thumb through and I go, man, what did I have to do in my mind at the time, but not really have to do in real life, right? So review. And if you can't see something, here's what I do. I sit back and I ask people, hey, taking a look at what's going on in my life, what should I adjust or change? Like you could actually outsource this to other people. It's seriously something you could ask your wife, because sometimes your wife or your husband are really good at telling you what you wasted time on, right? Because like you were talking about doing that thing and you didn't get that thing done. So the big thing first are review. And it should be something you go pretty deep on, because I want you to be able to pull out areas where you can see that you shouldn't have done things, and areas where you could have done better, been more precise, been more productive, been more focused. You could have been a high performer at a higher level, right? Review. The second R, reframe. Now, this is an interesting one because what we sometimes do is we look at these areas, and what we end up having internally is this level of guilt, this level of maybe a little bit of disdain, or maybe a little bit of like shame, or we're self-deprecating, like, oh, you dropped the ball, you suck. Look what you wasted time, Anthony. What was wrong with you, right? And what I do in that moment is I don't actually reframe, which is big, to extract new information. Because the reframes, what a lot of us are missing, I find. It's not so much that you tried something and you didn't work out and you walk away. It's like, no, you tried something, it didn't work out. Why? And what's the silver lining? Maybe you tried an effort towards something in a new social adventure you're trying to do, and you created some stuff and it didn't pan out, and you go, oh, I just suck at video. No. Maybe you don't suck at video. Maybe you could have adjusted how you spoke about something, the way you opened with the first 3 seconds of your hook, maybe how the video was framed, maybe the topic itself didn't resonate with your people. Let's reframe what we gathered from this moment. Because if you review it and everything's bad and we feel bad, it's hard to press into the rest of the whole year and finish strong if the energy starts negatively. You ever try to do that? Like to start like a new motion with like negative emotion? It's hard to create momentum, right? It's hard to get that going if I feel, So the big thing is to reframe. And this is 100% where I go, hey, I had this take place. I noticed it didn't serve me, wasn't perfect. Let me go back and see, how can I see this from a new perspective? Because I believe this: perspective precedes enlightenment. The aha moment, right? A new perspective on a singular situation. If I can get a new perspective, I can go, oh, I didn't notice that. Okay, now that I see that, here's a new lesson, a new takeaway that I can use and apply going into the rest of the year. So when I get to these times of the year, I actually do typically sit back and go, okay, starting into the next year or into this year, what happened? What am I not seeing? What am I not noticing? Like, what are we not finding out or paying attention to? And then what happens is I can get to my wits end. I'll get to my level of what I can see. And here's where I definitively want you to do this. And it's going to sound odd, but if you do this today, it'll be a game changer. I want you to text or call a person who is close to you, who kind of knows your vision and dream. And I want you to share, say, hey, I took a hard look at my life and what I've been doing the last 7, 8, 9 months. And I noticed some things I haven't been doing, or some things I tried that didn't work out. Can you hop on the phone with me, or can you share with me, what are some things of opportunity I'm not seeing? Where is there a positive that I'm not seeing in this situation? And obviously get your more optimistic minded friends, right? Hit your GrowthDay community up. Like, hey, people, this took place. Because some people are just pessimistic and their life's not great. So like, everything sucks. There's no positive. You don't want those people, by the way. Find the people that are joyous, right? So ask them, hey, what can I not see? And it might be a phone call. It might be engaged in this community going, hey, you want to hop on a phone call real quick? I want to run some things by you. This took place. What am I not seeing, right? Because if you can reframe the moment, you can go, oh, I didn't notice that. Okay, now let me try this new thing. I'll try it this way next time. I get more hope. I get more energy. And now when you lead into the rest of the year, you actually have more of this positive emotion. There's not this drain or this disdain or this anguish of like, oh, man, it's all bad. No. I'm like, hey, opportunity, hope, joy. It's big.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.